to your Joyful Riches podcast, where you gain precious tips for easily ignite your full spectrum wealthy life. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific with your friends and families because we all want and deserve to be wealthy and happy. This podcast is powered by Anchor FM, by Spotify. Anchor FM is the super awesome free podcast platform that will allow you to easily publish any podcast that you have. And for today, we are so super honored and thrilled to have another G100 Global Networking Country Chair from India, Shhreyaa Shetti, and thank you for being with us today, Shhreyaa. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Brigitte, for the wonderful introduction. And namaste, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who is plugged in on a beautiful sunny morning. And I am Shhreyaa Shetti from India. I am elite woman from India, and to talk more about what I do, I'm a human capital investor and a consultant, a youth and women empowerment coach who works towards empowering all lives, be it the youth, the women, or the professionals. So my entire work revolves around empowering myself and empowering others. So that's what I do basically.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. A human empowerment in and for all different. How do you get into that? How do you what brings you into this work?
Okay, great. So the word empowerment itself, I think it creates very strong emotions the moment you hear it. So there's a little story attached to it. I think as a young girls, we all come with a lot of dreams in our eyes. But I think many of us are determined enough to stick to those dreams and live those dreams. So I have always strongly believed that, no matter what, despite all the odds, despite all the life situations, we all see that dream for ourselves, as young teenagers or adults. And when you see that things working out for yourself, when you start putting out yourself in the world just by being you, and that's where you develop this conviction and this whole broader picture where little girls with dreams, I say, can become elite women with vision, and they start moving on with a mission and a purpose in life. So that's what inspired me also at a young age of 16, completing my engineering in electronics, and then pursuing a career into human resources. I did my PG and started working with the best of the corporate companies and startup technology, industry sectors, where I used to deal with a whole lot of human potential, working into different aspects of HR, be it talent acquisition, management, learning and development, coaching and mentoring. So a lot of coordination went into understanding the human psychology as a human resource professional, and that was something which intrigued me. How people optimize their best potential through various modalities and experiential learnings along the journey, and that really shaped up my life journey, evolving into a person who was the best version, learning from all the people around in the journey. And that's what I think took me on an elite journey and a mission where I started giving that empowerment to people around me. So it all started with empowering myself, and then giving the empowerment to people around me. So that's the little story.
That is super awesome. It started at the couple thing I catch in there. Started with you being from young age, and so that is something that, as you said, the little girls, we all sometimes have dream, but we don't always all pursue them. And yes, it's possible, and it's also possible. You imply in there you started in one background and then move to a different background. And sometimes we have people say, oh, I started out, like you said, being an engineer or being a doctor or being an accountant or what have you, and they feel stuck in there. But it's actually, there are options, there are possibility if you follow what it is that you're calling you, sounds like, that to grow into and develop into something, even if you feel even more empowered, that you love. And I love that. I love, and also you mentioned working with, you work with people who are at the corporates, or you work with HR, and that is something that a lot of people I know, being working as a workplace and knowing a lot of people at workplace, many people feel that, oh, if I want to be empowered, if I want to be able to grow, then I will need to go and become an entrepreneur. And then they feel that when they are in a workplace that they cannot be empowered. So I want to ask you, do you have one or two tips for the first group will be for people who are at workplace, people who has a job, working at a job, and what is it that they can do that in a way that they are empowered in an all-win manner. So they are empowered, they follow what it called them and continue to grow, but it's an all-win manner. It's for them as well as for the workplace, because we want everything to be in an all-win manner. And then the other part of that is, of course, that's for the team members. What are, perhaps you have a tip or two for team leader, that being, let's say for the HR leader, what is it that they can do to empower their team member and still in an all-win manners, that it is still also a win for the company and for them as well?
Absolutely. So that's a very interesting question, and where I work, closely for the past 16, 18 years now, into my journey as a human capital investor and now as an empowerment coach. So like you rightly put out, I think we don't need titles, designations, or, the ideal work environments to empower people or empower ourselves. You could be sitting and just chatting and having a conversation with someone who really needs to be heard. And that could itself lead to empowerment in that person's life. You need not be a counselor or a clinical psychologist or a therapist to empower that person through various modalities. So for me also, I think the empowerment journey taught me that, it could be a simple conversation that you strike with people. It could be an open dialogue that you have with people within your team. Because as a young HR professional, I found myself working with male dominated industries like manufacturing, automotive, where I used to be rubbed off with my ideas being put out in the boardroom saying that, hey, you are too young. You don't even have your grace turned yet. So I imagine I took that kind of feedback also with a pinch of salt, saying that, okay, what if I am young? But still I have my fresh ideas and opinions to give on maybe, it could be about, hiring, what could be the gender ratio. It could be about diversity. It could be about inclusivity. So I think keeping myself always updated on these kind of things, being well read, that really empowered me in the first place to have conversations with people back in the team. And definitely, when we talk about developing leadership or developing the people potential, it's very important for people to understand that, you need not have superpowers, or you need not have fancy international accreditations and certifications of coaching to get into empowerment in the first place. It's just about, letting people be themselves, and then just making them realize what are their superpowers. If at any point in time, if you're able to inspire people just being the flawed version of themselves, and then evolving them gradually, through hand holding them in the process, where you make them realize their potential, where they can rise above all the challenges. I think that's a very beautiful process for anybody to go through in the empowerment journey. And then it's pretty simple. There is no formula as such which we need to apply that, okay, I can make it happen only in the workplace. It can happen anywhere. It can happen in sitting in the boardroom. It can be happening, having a coffee conversation. So that's how I have, been getting a lot of experiential learnings in this last 18 years, which I keep giving it. Maybe when I interact with the youth in the country, in terms of, career skill empowerment programs that I do, or maybe working with HR professionals or new age leaders where we tap into their potential and, bring out the best version of themselves. And also, of course, as women, we tend to forget our worth. And that's where we really need to push each other, support each other, and stand by each other, holding hands, so that we feel empowered together to rise above all odds. So I hope I was able to answer the question.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Definitely, basically, I would say, know your own superpower. So know where your own superpower is, I think what you are saying, and then to help other people feel empowered. That like you said early on, it's to listen to them. When people feel hurt, they feel the HERT. I know my accent can be a little bit tricky sometimes. When people feel hurt, they feel that you listen to them, it helps them. And to remember that you can be, it's possible for you to be empowered regardless of where you are. You can be in a company, you can be empowered in your kitchen. Right?
Exactly. I mean, often, homemakers feel that they don't have any designation, especially back in India. Housewives are not even being accounted towards the economic growth or the GDP of the country. But if you look at it, just because they are holding the fort in the kitchen and managing the household chores and, managing children so beautifully, I think the men force are able to go out with a peaceful mind and work out there. So, there's a whole lot which kind of doesn't get the appreciation or the kind of cognizance that they should really be appreciated for their efforts or the role that they play.
Yeah, that is so wonderful. And learn to optimize, as you said, optimize where you are. You don't have to, if as you mentioned, if many times people who are still young in age, they say, oh well, I'm too young. Some people will tell them they are too young, and then by the time they reach the age of 40, and then they're like, oh well, I'm too old. And so how it goes. And so optimize where you are. It sounds like the other tip that you have there. Optimize where you are, whether you are young, and if people say things, take it with a grain of salt and move forward and continue knowing knowing who you are and goes with that. That is so wonderful. That is such an awesome tips in this day and age, in particular with everything going on in the world. We can definitely, sometimes people say, oh, this thing happened in life and that thing happened in life, and then so now I'm hopeless. But I love your message that you can become empowered where you are, and whether you are in the kitchen or working in a job, or you are an entrepreneur out on working for yourself, and then take back the power into your hand. And you are you definitely is amazing persons to help people with that. So how do people connect with you if they want to learn more on how they can do all this, whether they are companies or whether they are individual?
Okay, so it's very easy to connect, with us. In fact, thanks to social media, we are all out there on Facebook, LinkedIn, with my professional details being put out, and even our direct coordinates where people across the globe, because pre-pandemic, we used to have a lot of interventions, which were classroom trainings, classroom physical engagements. But now, thanks to the online technology, sitting here, I am able to connect with you so easily. So webinars and online interventions have made it easier for all of us to connect. So Facebook, LinkedIn are the easiest ways to connect. We have our consulting page where people can connect with us directly on WhatsApp or sending us an email with what they are looking at, and we should be able to connect back to them with with the required details.
Super. So they will find you under Shhreyaa Shetti on Facebook and LinkedIn?
Yes, they can find me under Shhreyaa Shetti on Facebook, and LinkedIn they can find me as Elite Woman Shhreyaa Shetti. Besides that, I have also put out a consulting page by the name Elite. So where they can find me on ELITTETTP on Facebook. So they can choose to connect with me on a personal level or my consulting page. Both will be directed and responded well in time.
Wonderful, and we will have that. The informations under these videos. If you want to look for that, it will be noted in the comment and in the when we broadcast this.
Certainly, that should really help to reaching out to people who would like to connect with us.
Yeah, and that way, and if you are on the podcast, as you said, they can under Shhreyaa Shetti. That's wonderful. And do you have any as we're closing here? Do you have one message, one final message for our audience on how to optimize their best potentials where they are?
All right. So to sum up the entire process of optimizing potential, wherein we saw that empowerment doesn't really need designations or fancy workplaces, but it is what you are, the belief and the very conviction of seeing dreams, no matter how big or impossible they may seem. So here is a little mantra for being elite, which also comprises only 2% of the world population, as research has already proven. So I believe elite people are those who really choose to challenge themselves. They choose to transform themselves. They always take the lead to lead themselves first, rather than waiting for somebody else to come and do the job. And last but not the least, they embrace their imperfections, risking them, going to the extent of talking about them, amplifying them, and then transforming themselves to become their best version. So that's how I define an elite version, which is all about being you and being the elite you. So that's a little mantra for success, I think I would like to share on the closing note with all the beautiful people out here. And thank you so much, Brigitte, for bringing this conversation on your podcast.
Oh, it is an honor. It is an honor. So that is so beautiful. Challenge yourself, transform, take the lead, and then embrace your imperfection. That is so beautiful, and it's a great honor. It is such a great honor to have you here on this podcast, Shhreyaa. And thank you. Thank you for sharing all your tips today, and thank you so much for that. It's an honor with Shhreyaa. And also, she is also, if you are looking to connect and to network, as mentioned briefly, she is also she is with Wiki India, as well as she is the country chair for India on global networking G100. So connect with her, connect with us. We're here. It is a sisterhood where we support each other and help each other shine in an all-win manner. So connect with us, and thank you again, Shhreyaa, and for sharing your tips and your wisdom. And for you, my friends who are listening to this, please share one or two gold nuggets in the comment so we can continue learning from each other. And thank you for joining us. Please share this podcast with your friends and families so they too can triumph in this life. And this is Dr. Birgit Tan, your grief transformation specialist for individual and companies, and United States country chair for G100 Global Networking All Ladies League. And you make it a thriving day, and we will see you again next week, same place at 9 a.m. Los Angeles time on Saturday. And we'll look forward to see you